friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sasha. Today we're doing a book review. Before we get to that review, we have a small little message from our sponsor. Hey there friends, it's me, Sasha, and today's sponsor is my Etsy shop, Dreaming of Stars Co. Have you ever wished you could match the vibe of your favorite book to a bookmark? Have you ever started reading a book but wanted to take a break and realized there was nothing close by except the last receipt from your library to use to hold your place? Hey, we're here to listen. We don't judge. Whether it's dark romance, queer, indie, fantasy, sci-fi, nonfiction, we've got bookmark designs just for you. And when I say we, it's really just me, but the we makes it sound, official or something. All my bookmarks are made right here in this very room by me, myself, Sasha Marie. You can use code WELCOME10 on your first order for a discount. Thank you so much for watching. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Thank you, Sasha, for that great message. And now let's move into the book review. I finally read Romanov by Nadine Brandes. I don't know that I'm pronouncing either of her names correctly, but I hope so. I have a sad story to tell you. And we listen, we don't judge. I know you just heard me say that also in the sponsored post if you didn't scroll and fast forward through that. I used to work in a library, and then I worked also in an elementary school library after that. And while I was working in a library, I was on NetGalley, and I was requesting my little heart out, right? And as I was requesting, some things happened in the world. Some call it a panini. Okay, now we wear masks on our face, right? The best form of resistance, by the way, is wearing a mask. I'm just going to leave that nugget of knowledge with you. So, I requested and received a copy of this book from NetGalley in 2019. I have just now finished and reviewed it. So let's just keep that in mind, that if I request something, I will still try and review it even if it is 6 years later. Is it better late than never? I don't know, because people are enjoying my review. My written review is already posted before you're going to see this video. People are enjoying it. They're getting excited about this book. So like, hey, could have been better timing to have that enjoyment and excitement when it was debuting, but I'm here now. I'm here now. So as you can see, I have a library physical copy of this book. I obviously also have the electronic version of this book, which I did not use to read this. And then I also had the audiobook, which I actually highly recommend. I highly recommend doing it in tandem. I did the audiobook and the physical book at the same time. The audio narrator did amazing accents, I think. I'm just American, so I don't really know if Russians would think it was good accents, but for me, I thought it was great. And there are a lot of Russian words and phrases in this book that I would have stumbled over so badly had I been reading this just on my lonesome. So yeah, if you're gonna give this a try, might as well try it with the audiobook, because I thought it made the experience for me so much better. So let's talk about why I picked this up. This is a young adult, I'm calling it a historical fantasy novel with a very almost not at all romantic undertones. So if you're looking for a YA romance, this is not the book for you. They're kind of, but that is also not what I was looking for going into this. So this is the story of Anastasia. If you've seen the movie, we all know and love, with the song that gets ingrained in your brain, Once Upon a December, and the little bat who goes, I'll give her a ha, and a hi-ya, and a woo-ah, and I geek her, sir. You know the bat. We all know. That is why I picked up this book, because I loved Anastasia the movie, and I wanted to know more of the historical side of things, which was exciting at the time that I requested this, and incrementally less exciting in January of 2025, when, it's the bad place here currently, okay? So I had a lot of anxiety this month. I was already in a reading slump, and then the world event anxiety, LA fires, everything else that happened this month, you know. So it was a struggle for me to get through this book, and I kept intuitively stopping like one page before something really tragic would happen. So I would read like 50 pages, take a break, 50 pages, take a break, 50 pages, take a break. And then I didn't come back to it for like a week. And then I read the entire rest of the book, the entire 2/3 rest of the book in one sitting, because all of the tragic stuff happened right at the beginning of that reading session. And then I was like, I now have to know how it ends. Like, I'm plugged in. It was like my anxiety had crested, and I was like, okay, I can sit with this. I have to figure this out. So this, unfortunately, starts with Anastasia's entire family still alive. Whew, okay, so right off the bat, we just know there's going to be some really tragic events that take place. And I think they were made even more tragic by getting to spend so much time with her family as they're still alive and watching how they live with the soldiers who are overseeing their imprisonment. One of my biggest takeaways from this book is how Anastasia's father shows love and the same like level of love to his family, his wife, his daughters, his son, as he does to his staff. They have a doctor with them, they have a cook with them, they have like servants and people who help them, as he does, same level, to his captors and the soldiers who are holding him hostage and treating him pretty poorly and treating his family very poorly. And I think that message of unconditional love is one that made me think and made me ponder. And like, even though I'm pretty sure he was aware, just instinctively aware, that this was going to end for him and his family in tragedy, it didn't affect how he treated the people around him, especially the people who were going to cause the tragedy. So the theme of unconditional love and literally loving your enemies was one that was very timely, and that's one thing I keep saying about this book, is it feels really timeless. And I'll go on a little tangent here. I don't really know much about current Russian politics, so it's not something I'm going to speak on whatsoever. And even the politics in this book, like, it's extremely political, but I think it can be sort of translated into any sort of power dynamic, into any sort of government transition and, you know, disruption within a country at large. So this is a very politically heavy book, and I don't have enough knowledge or understanding of the Russian political climate today to comment on it at all, or even the Russian political climate back then to comment on it at all. However, I will say that I think it translates well into a lot of the things that we are still struggling with, because we see Anastasia's struggle, and I wonder if I was in her position, what decisions I would have made and what the outcomes would have been. And then we also have another character named Zash, who is more or less the romantic interest in this book, and he is a soldier who has essentially joined to try and keep his grandmother alive and to keep the suspicion off of his family. And so it's like, would I have made the same decisions as Zash and come to terms with the things he is forced to do? And it's just, there are so many amazing, like, thought-provoking moments in this novel, and I think they're even more thought-provoking with the current state of the world. I will also mention there are 2 disabled characters in this story, which I didn't actually know about, but that's kind of like commonly known. So like I said, I just don't know anything about Russia's history or Anastasia other than the frickin' bat in the animated movie. So Anastasia's younger brother has something called hemophilia, which means that his blood doesn't ever clot. So anytime he gets a bruise or an injury, it's life-threatening, and it's not just like, oh no, he scraped his knee. It's like, oh fuck, like, he's gonna be in his wheelchair, he's gonna be bedbound again. Like, there was a lot of great discussions on his disability and chronic illness. His mother, and Anastasia's mother, is also chronically ill in this story. She has a lot of fatigue and migraines and loss of appetite, and that is explained in a different, more like magical way in this story. But for both characters, it was great to see how their family treated them, and it was never a sense of like, because they are physically less than, they were never treated as less than by their family. And I think it was really wonderful to see how, because of their physical limitations, they had both become so emotionally strong, and it was really inspiring to read about those two characters, and I just really appreciated the disability representation and the way that it was represented in this book. This does have a touch of fantasy in it, with magic and spells and things like that, and I think that was really interesting to weave that together. This book was written so well that it felt like the magical aspects were real. Like, that is actually how Anastasia survived, and how she actually coped with all of these things going wrong was her magic. And when you get to the end of the book, I was really thankful for this. The author does include, like, what's real, what I stretched, and what is not real whatsoever. And that almost made it a little more heartbreaking, because one of the characters I didn't think actually existed did actually exist, and what happened to him did actually happen to him, and that is like, if I had known that when I was reading that scene, I would have openly wept. Like, this is a very sad book, and it does not shy away from how sad it is. There are graphic scenes of murder of humans and animals. There is just bad stuff that happens, and it was a really hard read, but I am so happy to have read it and to have this more sort of like adult understanding of Anastasia, since the last time I had anything to do with this story I was a child. And this is a young adult book, so I think it is palatable for younger audiences, but I'm happy to have read it as an adult. And in our current climate, I think there's a lot of really great takeaways. Really great takeaways and things that I will try and remember as we get through the next 4 or more years here in the US. So, highly recommend this book for so many different reasons. If you were a fan of Anastasia, be prepared to cry a lot, and have a lot of complex feelings right along with Anastasia. Yeah, that's where I'm going to leave you guys. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!